Episode 5 is still a ways off, but we already have some leaks, teasers, and spoilers revealing certain details about the upcoming episode. In this video, I've tried to compile everything we know about the new episode so far. Let's not waste any time. Let's dive into the review. We already know the new setting is going to be a stadium. Judging by the renders, it's pretty obvious it'll be baseball themed. Even the opening scene of episode 4 gave us a little sneak peek of what's to come.
Wind your arm backwards in a big circle, release right at the bottom, and follow through. You got that?
You're wasting your time, Raggy.
Just wait a second.
Like this?
Yeah, you got it. Jax!
I actually didn't mean to do that.
Are you all right, Gangle?
Oh.
Why do you always gotta do this?
What? I just said it was an accident.
Unbelievable. You are...
There are only 2 characters in the digital circus who know how to play baseball, Jax and Retha. This bit of info will be important in the second part of the video. One of the most intriguing topics is the release date. As I've mentioned in one of my previous videos, we won't see new episodes before April. Gooseworx indirectly confirmed this, and another one of her posts backs it up. The funny thing is, there's no mention of episode 5 there, but I feel like the animation process will kick off in the next 1 to 2 weeks. This means we're about 4 months away from the new episode. The only reason episode 4 was released so quickly is that episodes 3 and 4 were developed simultaneously. And of course, the key phrase for episode 5 is, haha, which, honestly, is a bit of a letdown. It's so vague that it could mean anything. It could hint at a wildly funny episode, which I highly doubt, and I'll explain why in a moment. Or maybe it's a sarcastic jab at one of the characters. One thing I can say for sure is that this so-called teaser is accurate. After all, the key word for episode 4 perfectly captured its essence.
Huh? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something.
Why would you do this?
It's called a manic episode, and you're getting 3 more seasons. Anyway.
In one of the posts, we were teased with a line from a random character, and it goes, "Democracy sucks." Now this is where things get even more intriguing. Remember when I said only Jax and Retha know how to play baseball? Well, this line belongs to one of them. So, who's the lucky one? Drop your guesses in the comments. A key detail about the upcoming episode is something entirely new for us. For the first time, all the characters will participate together in a new adventure, which we can call Digital Games. This is exciting because we have no clue how they'll interact as a group, especially since in past adventures, something always happened that left only 5 characters in the spotlight.
Zuby?
Yeah, no.
Oh, I know. I could sit this one out, and Zubul could take my place.
What? That's not how that works.
Now, let's dive into our long-awaited episode 5. By now, you're probably tired of me talking about who knows how to play baseball, but considering there are only 2 characters with those skills, it's highly likely they'll act as player coaches in a simplified version of the game. After all, the digital circus characters don't even have enough players for one full team. But hey, that's where the versatile mannequins come in. These guys can do it all. Scare a character, cheer wildly at their arrival, or even completely shift our perception of a character through the consequences of their actions. And now, circling back to that mysterious phrase, it's becoming clear that it was likely Jax who said, "Democracy sucks," when the other characters voted him as one of the team coaches. As we've seen in previous episodes, every new adventure leads to the group being split into 2 teams.
You, me, and Pomni will go check on Kaufmo, which leaves Crybaby and Hoo-Ha together to go handle the Zubul situation.
Episode 4 was a bit of an exception since everyone stayed within Spudsies, but even there, we could say only Zubul and Retha were truly working as a team. Now, the sports-themed episode has to introduce an element of competition between 2 teams. Considering Kinger has never directly interacted with Zubul during an adventure, and let's not count that pilot episode scene where Zubul was more of a target than a participant. While everyone else has already had that chance, I'm pretty sure the first team, along with the mannequins, will include Jax, Kinger, and Zubul. And let's be honest, this setup is bound to be hilarious. Jax and Zubul have been at odds since the pilot episode.
If there was a way to leave, I'm pretty sure we'd have all left by now.
Yeah, what are you talking about?
How about an adventure where Zubul gets turned into a piñata and we all take turns beating them up?
That one's mine.
Who would have guessed?
And as for Jax's opinion of Kinger, well, you already know all about that.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
Just don't be mean.
We've been stuck here for years. Old Kinger over there's supposedly been here the longest.
Oh, did someone say something about an insect collection?
That's why he's crazy.
In that case, the second team will consist of Retha, Pomni, and Gangle, and this setup promises to be truly fascinating. While the first 3 episodes led us to believe Retha was the only genuinely kind character in the digital circus, certain scenes, especially her obsessive drive to gain Pomni's approval, planted seeds of doubt about her true intentions.
There she is. Hope you're doing all right. I know yesterday was a bit of a doozy.
Doozy.
Oh, and don't worry about the whole abandoning me for the exit thing. It's perfectly understandable what you were going through at the time, and there's no hard feelings. You're all good. Well, let's forget about all that. Kane's got a new adventure today, and judging by what he's been teasing, it seems like it's gonna be a fun—
One user asked, which out of the next 5 episodes is the lightest in terms of mood? And are you also doing those short mini episodes that aren't that important to the plot? To which Goose replied, 5 is probably the lightest of all the episodes. One could say that it's the silly before the storm. And now, this is getting really interesting. Considering another mini spoiler, it's genuinely unsettling. Gooseworx confirmed that episode 5 cannot be considered a full-fledged Retha episode, just as episode 6 won't be solely about Jax. It turns out that both characters will be revealed to us in parallel across these 2 episodes. However, it's been said that episode 5 will be the last calm episode, meaning it will fully uncover all the characters' sins. Reflecting on our first spoiler, we realize that Retha apparently doesn't belong to the list of positive characters. Her behavior in episode 4 was only the beginning of the terrifying truth we'll learn about her.
You are such a grouch. Why are you always being a grunch? Oh, she's flirting with the gummy guy, 'cause she'd rather be with an NPC than with us or something. I wish someone would flirt with me.
Many fans were genuinely curious about what would happen to Retha after episode 4, how other characters would treat her, and everything else. However, one fan asked a more specific question: what will happen to her after the events of episode 5? The response Gooseworx gave raises many questions. For some reason, I'm convinced we won't see the familiar happiness from Retha anymore, and her line from episode 5 only reinforces this: not anymore. What this could mean remains the subject of debates and discussions, but I think I've managed to solve this mystery. Think back to Retha's behavior in the first 3 episodes. She's always cheerful and joyful, and these scenes only confirm it.
That's just one of Kane's little adventures. They're just something fun to do to, prevent us from going insane. Wow, sounds fun. What do you think, Pomni? Oh, this place is spooky. I wonder how hard Kane's gonna go with the scare factor.
She didn't even lose her optimism and love for life during the most critical moment, when she was on the verge of turning into an abstracted monster. Even in episode 4, although she was under the influence of the stupid sauce, it still wasn't depression or negativity. However, one scene stands out from the overall picture of the cheerful and happy Retha.
Really can't leave, and constantly chasing an unattainable goal will start driving you a bit crazy. And eventually you get to asking what the point of anything is, and you completely lose sight of who you are and why you're even alive, and when you reach your breaking point, something really terrible can happen.
And that very phrase, "not anymore," might signal that Retha has returned to her true mental state and is now tired of wearing masks. All she wants is to simply be herself. The phrase, isn't a hint at any horrifying or tragic events, but rather an acceptance of the fact that Retha hasn't been authentic for a long time. These changes are also hinted at in episode 4, which, though presented as a humorous piece, subtly lays the groundwork for a chain reaction that will lead to a complete shift in understanding Retha's character. While the behavior in episode 4 is driven by the stupid sauce and shouldn't be taken entirely seriously, this episode acts as an inhibitor of deeper changes to come. Although we won't delve deeply into Pomni's phrases or other out-of-context remarks, as the focus here is on Retha's evolution and the overarching narrative beyond just episode 5, it would be remiss not to discuss how Retha arrived at this point. While no official confirmation exists yet, most fans speculate that episode 5 will involve a stadium and a sports theme. In my earlier videos, I explored theories about Retha's role in the new adventure. Among them, the most compelling is that Retha will act as an umpire. Initially, everything might go well, but over time, her instructions may be ignored. This neglect could push Retha to retreat to the locker room, where she might break down in tears. At this moment, Pomni could approach her, ask what happened, and hear the profound "not anymore." Of course, this is a brief summary, but the essence is clear. Now let's talk about the release date, because many people are trying to mislead you by literally saying that we will see episode 5 in February, but unfortunately, it's not true. Gooseworx revealed, animation hasn't even started on 5 yet, so there's no way. This isn't just sad, it's a downright brutal announcement. If we draw parallels between the timeline for the pilot and episode 2, and then episodes 3 and 4, which released on December 13th, and now episode 5, which hasn't even entered production yet, we can assume its release could take around 6 months. That means summer 2025. Alright, maybe we won't actually have to wait a full 6 months for the much anticipated sports-themed episode, but it's safe to say 2 months is also way too optimistic. For now, let's solve the mystery of episode 5's release date. This topic is currently blowing up on Reddit, and one user shared this theory. This means that the episode probably won't get released until April-May, 4 to 5 months, because that's usually how long animation takes for an episode. However, I'd be okay with that since it's presumably a sports episode, so releasing it during spring-summertime would be perfect. Another Redditor agreed, but suggested a slight adjustment to the timeline. Honestly, that makes sense. I'm happy to wait. I'm glad they are pacing themselves and not rushing. I think your May theory makes sense. It could even be March. Anyway, that gives us a lot of time to rewatch the episodes and watch more shows, and also watch and support other indie shows, especially those featured in GlitchX. Of course, not everyone was on board with this initial comments timeline. 4 months is actually quite long. On average, most indie studios take about 2 to 3 months. Unless they're starting to work on Gaslight District, we might get episode 5 by March. Now, here's my take on the situation. I'd have to say I agree most with Sprout Cat. Waiting until May, let alone summer, seems highly unlikely. The long gap between the pilot and episode 2 can be attributed to one key factor: the higher priority of murder drones at the time. While Glitch has publicly stated they don't care about view counts, which I think is only partly true, there's no denying that Glitch prioritizes its flagship projects. Back then, murder drones was their primary focus, so even though the amazing Digital Circus performed phenomenally, it was still second in line. Now things are completely different. Not only is the amazing Digital Circus their top priority, but its viewership numbers are absolutely skyrocketing compared to any other Glitch show during their respective releases, especially when you consider the somewhat murky status of Gaslight District, a project with an uncertain timeline or even an uncertain future. It's clear that waiting 6 months again is off the table. On top of that, Gooseworx now has access to significantly larger financial resources. This means they can hire more professionals to speed up production and post-processing for the next episode. When you factor in all of this, the predicted 3 to 4 month timeline no longer seems unreasonable. So we're likely looking at a release in March or April for the sports-themed episode. Considering no one wants to lose momentum or money, and the creators now have the budget to deliver high-quality work in a shorter time frame, late March to early April seems like a very realistic window. And as many Reddit users have pointed out, releasing a sports episode during the perfect spring weather would feel symbolic and well-timed. What do you think of my projected release date for episode 5? And with that, our video is coming to an end. Drop your thoughts in the comments about the release date and my little analysis of the character arcs in episode 5.